I'm about to put on the new exhaust from Greg and the shortened oil pan. So what I did, right now the motor is just suspended with the engine hoist, but I jacked up from the oil pan just to kind of give it a little bit more rigidity. First thing I did is I took off this thing. It's like, I don't know exactly what it's called, something like the particle canister or something along those lines. But there's 3 nuts, 2 in the front right here and then 1 in the back. And that came right off. Next, there's 2 bolts on this side of the exhaust, and there's 3 nuts on that side over there. And I just simply took those out, and it pretty much just came straight off. So it's pretty simple. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and drain the oil and get that going. After you get that exhaust piece off, what you're going to do, this little manifold is attached to the turbo, and these 2 points right here, which is where that exhaust attached into, those are pretty easy to reach. These 3 right here, one of them was pretty tricky to get, and that's the exhaust flange on the actual motor, which is where the new stainless steel exhaust goes into. But to get to it, you have to take off, there's these little metal heat shields all the way around. I had to come in from the front right here, take off that heat shield on the top of this manifold to get to that 3rd bolt right up in here, which was really tricky. And this looks kind of a little crazy. Greg, he just bends this line, which is the oil line. It goes, this is a little banjo bolt, goes right into the turbo. Somehow mine got damaged, so I went and got 300 psi tubing, and I just put double hose clamps on each side. So that should be good for me, but most people probably will just want to bend this tube. Also, make sure you take a whole bunch of pictures before you move the turbo so you know which lines go where. One thing I did though, however, there's 2 lines right up here. These seem to be coolant lines. They both, one of them ties in right here, the other one ties in to this right here. You can see there's no hose attached. That just simply goes right up and into a little area at the top of the engine block. I just skipped this whole section and just ran the hose straight from one of the coolant lines right up into the top of the block. So that's something to consider if you want to do that. Also, something to note, there's an engine oil pickup tube that comes, when you take off the old oil pan, it comes straight down and it sticks down to about right here, kind of the depth of the old oil pan. I actually have it wrapped up. Let me see. You can kind of see it through the plastic, but you're going to need to get this modified. Greg, I know, does it, or you could simply just go measure the length of the tube that you need to get cut, take it to a fabricator, and just have them shorten this tube. I will give you the measurements when I get it. I just haven't measured anything yet, so that's very important. Make sure you modify that, and you want it to be 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of this new oil pan. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It was kind of tricky getting some of the stuff separated, like especially getting this separated from the turbo. That was pretty hard and frustrating. I had to use a breaker bar. Also, let's see here. So this little coolant nipple, it was pointing directly towards this exhaust, and you couldn't get the exhaust on unless I had to get a sledge, and after all the old exhaust was off, I had to tap the end right here and kind of bend it towards the rear. You're going to need to get a new coolant hose because this one isn't long enough to reach around. I tried to, like, after installing the new exhaust pipe, I tried to hit it back, but it still interfered with the exhaust, so just keep that in mind as well.